In very basic terms, graphene could be described as a single one-atom thick layer of the commonly found material graphite. So graphite is essentially hundreds of thousands of layers of graphene.
Oh, okay. You can write with it, too.
Welcome to I Like Batteries, the show where we explore the world of batteries. I'm Jeff Lynch.
And I'm Mike Muldoon. Hey, good evening, Jeff Lynch.
2 in a row in the evenings.
Yeah, well, it happens. I mean, there's really no rules in terms of when you record a show, I don't think.
No, just when you release them. And we release them on time on Tuesday mornings at 7 a.m. Yes.
Right, exactly. But I will say, even the day was very nice. Excellent recharging day for myself and for the power stations. I mean, the EcoFlows were out there. It was a wonderful day for sun. I even had a little bit of pale blue solar panels out there charging some pale blue batteries because I went for a run this morning and the headlamp started to do a little bit of blink towards the end there. I was like, oh, we're getting close. So we charged up the AAA pale blues with the solar panel. That worked well, and actually charged up the RPPB 172, which we'll be doing a little bit review on YouTube on that one that I got off eBay.
Okay, so I have a question for you. So your pale blue AAAs,
yep.
Did you recharge those with the pale blue solar panel or with a different brand solar panel?
Pale blue.
Okay,
so it was pale blue. Yeah,
that's right. No, I'm just saying that's nice.
Yeah,
There's a nice symmetry to that.
Right, but I would say that same solar panel, which just for our listeners' reminder, the pale blue solar panel does have 2 USB outputs. I was charging the AAAs because it does have I guess I call it 4-prong outlet, like USB to micro USB. There's 4 of them on there, right. So I only needed to charge 3 of them. And there's another USB, and I was using that to charge the RPPB 172. Off of that. So really
nice. And the pale blue solar panel is quite nice because were you getting the fast charge level of the pale blue solar panel?
The light was saying fast charge. And in fact, that I think it was down to 21% and it was 84% because that's why I like the RPPB 172 because it has an LED display on it. So
nice. Okay.
So that was good. But the EcoFlow River Max was well charged. That was actually in the morning. The EB3A got charged off of our friend Rock Pal's solar panel. Okay, and the EcoFlow River Delta was also charged. That one got up to 39% because that was later in the day. I brought that out there. So.
Well, the Delta's bigger too, so it's not going to...
It's bigger. Yeah, it's bigger. Yeah, so that does happen. But, Jeff, did you know what yesterday was?
Well, as of recording, so recording on February the 19th. So, and we mentioned this in episode 201 last time, is that February 18th is National Battery Day.
That is right, National Battery Day. So, happy National Battery Day to all of our listeners. And that's appropriate given the fact that this is the I Like Batteries podcast, where you'll be talking about batteries a little bit. And you know what? Could we talk a little bit about something that was on sale for today, which was President's Day as of recording, and that's our friends at Lion Energy. They had some things that they're running a little bit of a President's Day sale, and we like them. They were on the show. They have this really cool charger, Jeff, called the Eclipse wireless charger. Have you seen this? I think you have since I said
I have. Yes, we talked about it. Yes, so it is a 3-in-1 wireless charger. So it's got 3 Qi chargers on it, plus a USB-C, right? It's USB-C?
USB-C as well as 2 USB-A's. 5 volt at 2.4 amp. Yeah.
So there's 6 possible charging outlets, we'll call them.
Yeah.
Plugs, sources of power. So the 3 Qi chargers can do 10 watts, 5 watts, and 2 watts apiece. The 2 USB-A's are 5 volts at 2.4 amps each. And a single USB-C port, which can do up to 85 watts, if that's the only thing that's plugged in, we assume. Otherwise, it'll do 60 watts if everything is rocking and rolling there.
Yep, and you charge that via USB-C, which is pretty nice. In terms of rated capacity, 99.9 watt hours, which I thought is always just like, not quite 100, almost there, but not quite 100, which is 27,000 milliamp hours. 5-year warranty on that. Pretty good, about 2 pounds, 8.5 by 3.5 by 1.5 inches if we're looking at it. And I do like in describing it for our listeners, because obviously as a podcast you can't actually see this, is it essentially has 3 circles on the top of it, which are your 3 Qi chargers, and you can charge simultaneously all of those. And there was a video that Lion Energy had where they had a phone, they had an AirPod case, and they had an Apple Watch that were all charging. And what I like about these, having had some having one of these type, that's type meaning a power station that has a Qi charger on it, you don't need cables, and that is the beauty, and that is nice. Is that sometimes you forget the cables, and I'm sure we've all done that at times. And the fact is, now most of devices, as of iPhone 8, right? I think the 8 was the first one that had Qi charger, no?
Yes, for Qi charging, yes. But now, yes, from the cable perspective, the iPads have had USB-C charging for a little while. The latest iPhone, so the iPhone 15 titaniums are USB-C now as well. So, I mean, we're starting to move towards either wireless charging or USB-C, which is nice.
Yeah, no, this fits well, and the reason we're saying this is they did basically make this where I think it's 50% off. Is that
it's 50% off? Yeah, retails for $149, and it's on sale for $75.
$75, so that's under $1 watt hour.
Sure, easily.
Yeah, which is pretty good. As well as we've talked about this many times for many years, I can actually say, is that it depends what your needs are, but the fact that this has 3 Qi chargers and has all the other outputs, that's pretty good for sure.
Yeah, and it's
given the price point.
Approved for airplane travel, so it's
right.
Milliamp hour and watt hour ratings are below the threshold for airplane travel. And you hook up a solar panel to this, and you're good for a nice sunny vacation.
Right, and nice part is if I had my M2 MacBook Air here, I could charge that via the USB-C. I could charge my iPhone, and I could charge my watch. So kind of, for me,
you could probably get away with charging your 16-inch MacBook Pro as well, provided it wasn't completely dead.
Correct.
Because I charge my 16-inch M1 Pro on docking stations, et cetera, that are only rated for 85 watts or 100 watts.
Okay.
And and the charger that comes with it is 140. So.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's pretty neat. The other thing we wanted to talk about, since it was battery day, was different types of batteries. And when we say types, we talk about different battery chemistries, Jeff. Are you familiar with any other type of battery chemistries? Have you sharpened your pencil on this one? We
have. We talked about these in episode 200, anniversary episode, so to speak. But we didn't really touch on the graphene element.
We didn't. No,
in that discussion, and this is starting to become a thing.
Yes, it's a more common. What we found, it's more common cathode, or was it anode? I can't remember.
Previously, we had found that it was an anode material, and it enhanced the ability for the lithium to basically find a location to be stored in the anode. And for longtime listeners, you probably know this, but if you're a new listener. First, thank you very much for listening. And second, the power in a battery when it's charged is essentially stored in the anode, or the negative side of the battery. And then when it's used, it transfers itself to the cathode side. So graphene and graphite, and we'll talk about the difference in a second, is used to stabilize that structure, because sometimes the structure can crack and cause lithium plating, which means that lithium ions are essentially trapped in the structure of the anode and can't get back across to the cathode to be used as power. And that's one of the reasons for lithium ion based battery degradation. I forget the episode off the top of my head, but somewhere in the last 4 years, we've talked about ways that lithium-ion batteries degrade. But that's essentially has a stabilizing effect. But there's some new things we've learned.
Well, it's tough. I mean, graphene's definitely tough. And in fact, one of the articles we read said it stands up for being tough, flexible, light, and high resistance. Calculated, it's 200 times more resistant than steel and 5 times lighter than aluminum. So that's good for you were joking and saying building, but one of the applications for graphene is actually being used in construction. It's because basically it's tougher and more sustainable for certain things. In fact, we were seeing that it's the green concrete as an eco-efficient material, more sustainable, resistant than current. So, but speaking of current, it does work well with current, Jeff, and that's what we mean in terms of batteries.
It does, of course, and we're not talking about building buildings with pencils either. So,
no, we're not.
We should make it clear.
That is neat to do. No, exactly. So graphene, graphite, Jeff, are they the same thing?
Kind of. So in basic terms, graphene could be described as a single 1 atom thick layer of the commonly found mineral graphite. So sort of in summary, graphite is essentially hundreds of thousands of layers of graphene. And so it's a material that's extracted from graphite. It's made up of pure carbon, and it's one of the most important elements in nature. And we find ourselves using it all the time.
But here's the real question, Jeff. Can I get myself a graphene battery now if I wanted one?
There's one that we found.
There's one that we found. Yeah. One, and so realize that this is being used in I guess I'd say more scientific applications right now. So refining the product in terms of being able to bring it to market. So you're not going to find a lot of them out there. Most of the power stations we talked about today, in fact, none of them that I think we've talked about yet have our graphene-based batteries. But we did find one on Amazon, and it's by a company called Caterpillar, which usually makes a lot bigger apparatus if you think about it, really in construction if we're talking about that. But this is not a large battery, and from what I would say, I mean, this is an 18-volt battery that is 5 amp hours that you would use for a power tool.
Right. Indeed. And the other thing to mention, as Mike and I were discussing this pre-show, we had just talked about how graphene has been used in the anode, but there's now graphene in the cathode material, and they're talking about them sort of as a hybrid cathode. So it's lithium ion plus graphene that is allowing certain characteristics which are often negative with lithium ion batteries. Think about puncturing a cell, for example.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
So it's something that's advancing, and the research is indicating that they are much safer.
Yeah. And so there was a little bit of an article, or actually I should say video, with a bullet test of a traditional lithium-ion battery and a graphene-based one where it didn't catch on fire. And that's one of those things that I guess I would say that lithium-based batteries are getting a bad rap. And it does happen, and there are different problems with them. But I would say that if we can make them safer, people will be happier. Also, I was surprised in that same article, it said these type of batteries will work from minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit all the way up to 122. Now, the article stated that they function at extreme temperatures. I'm not sure if you're able to charge them with that, but that could be different.
Good question. Yeah.
But I think when I look at it more, the reality of this article said it's growing popularity in e-bikes. And I can see why you'd want to be able to have this. I mean, if you're going to be able to have something you can charge really fast that's lighter, e-bikes will work. And to be honest, the next place I would think I'd be seeing them is potentially in EVs. So wait to see what happens with graphene over the time. But if for nothing else, you know what you can do? You can power your power tools with it. And so it's looking like that battery's $169.99 for 18-volt, 5 amp hour battery. So if I'm doing Jeff, last time I checked, I'm pretty sure volts times amps equals watts.
You got it. Mm-hmm.
Right. So the reality is we're getting about 90 watt hours off that battery. So it's a little pricey, if I were to say, based upon what we're used to in terms of like $1 a watt hour, right? We're almost not quite double, but we're getting close to that. So as we've seen with a lot of technologies, the newer it is, sometimes the more expensive it is. Just as we saw when you went to lithium iron phosphate batteries, they get a little bit more pricey with these. So keep your eye out for these type of things. You're going to see them more coming out there. And the other thing I was surprised at this battery is how quickly it charged. Now, I know you said your Ego is charged pretty quick, but this one's saying 0 to 100% charged in 20 minutes with one of their chargers. That's
a little faster. I think my Ego yard equipment batteries are fully recharged in about 30-35 minutes, the 5 amp hour ones.
Okay.
So it's not too bad, and that's why we have multiple batteries. So typically if you're like mowing the lawn or using the chainsaw like I did this past weekend, you can use one while one's charging, and you pretty much have continuous usage if you desire.
Right. No, exactly. So keep your eyes out for graphene-based batteries and sharpen your pencils if that happens here. Any other interesting facts about graphene batteries that you were able to find or look at?
No, I was more interested in moving on to the playground.
Yeah, talk to me about the playground. You found a playground that you'd like to play on sometimes?
And I would. Yeah, so no, I was on LinkedIn of all places, and somebody had posted an article about a little piece of a playground for kids, and it was an EV charging station. So it had like a little EV charging symbol and a battery, and it had a solar panel there and a little EV cable and a little battery sliding thing, so you could basically pretend that you're charging up. So to me, this is cool because it's like exposing kids to, maybe starting conversations with their parents about like, what is that? What is an EV? But it's sort of a nice way to educate the future generation about batteries. And we like that because we like batteries.
The funny thing about that is, if you think about it, all those little cars, like my kids had them that were plastic ones that you kind of push around. I think they had a Barbie car or something else like that. They're all battery powered anyway. Now, they weren't lithium ion based. They were, I think.
No, I'm sure they were lead acid or nickel metal hydride.
Yeah, or nickel metal hydride or things like that. And they always had the weirdest connectors. You had to like charge them forever, and they didn't last till like you tell when it was dying. It was like
yeah,
like nuts.
It's like when your car battery doesn't start. It's the same thing.
Yeah, which is a good tip again. Right? I think almost 4 years ago it happened to you that you had to replace Alice's battery.
Yes.
So
the car is no longer with us.
It's that time of year though, so make sure you're doing a nice battery test, and with that, make sure you stay fully charged, or at least 80%. I did talk about that when I did pick up that RPPB 172 off eBay. I got it, opened the box, and it was no lights on. I was a little scared there that we were going to be like press the button, no lights on. But stay tuned for that YouTube post. All was okay. Plugged it in. I was very happy when it was blinking 0% because I'm like, okay, you are initiating something's going to happen. Yeah. And then it took a little while. It started off about I could watch it on my EcoFlow come up as like 1 watt. I'm like, it's only drawing 1 watt. I'm like, okay, this is okay. Then it came up to 9. Then we went to 11. Then we went to 17. I was like, okay, now here we go.
Now we're
actually starting to do that. We started to fill some cells up, and I believe the stadium was starting to get full. Problem was, it was just a little bit slow to get everyone into the stadium at first, and then everyone started to go into the stadium. Thank you for the stadium effect, and that was one of our earlier episodes with Goal Zero. We got to learn from Bill Harmon that this is how we charge our batteries. So with that, hopefully you get a good stadium effect charge, get a good night's rest, recharge your batteries, and we'll see you next week for an episode of I Like Batteries.
Thanks for joining us.